Chapter 1, This Immortal is really foul-mouthed. Fufeng City, under the setting sun. Qin Qiu, dressed in coarse linen, looked distractedly towards the city gate not far away. There, a sect called Jia Tiangang was actively recruiting disciples. A chubby man, who claimed to be an outer elder, was holding a wooden megaphone and shouting with all his might. The annual Jia Tiangang disciple recruitment assembly has begun. Don't miss it. The day of immortal ascension is now. Join the sect and immediately receive 100 copper coins. His name was Qin Qiu, and he had transmigrated not long ago. Today was his 31st day since transmigration. After 30 days of hard work chopping firewood, he finally saved up over 2,000 copper coins, enough to rent a small house for himself in this unfamiliar city. Chopping firewood was a strenuous task. The buyer specifically requested ironwood, a tree that was extremely hard and difficult to chop. Furthermore, the areas where these trees grew were monopolized by local bullies, and to chop firewood on their territory, one had to pay an entrance fee. He spent a full 29 days, only able to snatch some scattered ironwood from small corners neglected by the local bullies, competing with villagers. He could only earn a dozen or so copper coins a day, which was not enough to sustain himself. He was a bit clumsy and simply couldn't master chopping firewood. Fortunately, on the 30th day, he learned how to chop people. That's how he made a small fortune. Given that he had a good mood today after yesterday's success, he took a day off. He spent 300 copper coins to rent a small house, wandered around during the day, and then spent a few dozen copper coins to buy some pig's head meat, peanuts, and half a caddy of strong liquor, planning to celebrate in his own room. Today was a day of rest, he would chop firewood again tomorrow. He was greatly looking forward to this feast. It was the most lavish dinner he had since his transmigration. It seemed like just a small step. Yet, it represented a significant step for him to establish himself in this unfamiliar world. He was in a good mood all the way, even hearing that a theatrical troupe from the capital was about to enter the city at the city gate. He specifically came to join the fun. Before this, his mood had always been good, until he heard the 3 words Jia Tiangang. He began to feel a little dazed. This somewhat familiar sense of unfamiliarity made him feel as if he hadn't transmigrated at all, but had merely fallen asleep. He knew there were immortals in this world. But he rarely thought about cultivating to become an immortal. He just wanted to survive. If he could be a bit more extravagant, it would be to have pig's head meat for every meal and never get caught for chopping people. After all, when even basic sustenance was difficult, how could he dare to cultivate immortality? Moreover, the Jia Tiangang sect gave him the impression of being too low class. He was an outer elder, an immortal, yet he was shouting like a crude vendor. Most of the people around basically just glanced over and passed by. After all this time, not a single person stopped. Was the desire for cultivation so low among the people in this world? Qin Qiu shook his head and did not linger. Perhaps it was just a coincidence of names. At this moment, the theatrical troupe, surrounded by a surging crowd, grandly entered the city. The status of actors in this world was not high. But this troupe had a famous courtesan from the capital who only performed and did not sell herself. It was said that a high-ranking official from the capital once offered 3 spirit stones for a night of pleasure, but was politely refused. Naturally, many people wanted to see what this woman, worth 3 spirit stones, looked like. He stood on tiptoe and took a look. It was all right, he supposed. It seemed people in this world hadn't had much good to eat either. After joining the fun, Qin Qiu did not linger but turned directly and walked into the city. Just then, perhaps he had lingered too long, or perhaps he was moving against the flow of the crowd. In any case, the Jia Tiangang outer elder who was shouting noticed him. After a loud yell, he quickly ran towards him. "Fellow Taoist, halt!" Qin Qiu's mouth twitched slightly. Carrying the pig's head meat wrapped in oil paper and the ceramic bottle of strong liquor, he turned and walked away without the slightest hesitation. "Fellow Taoist, please halt." The voice behind him grew louder and louder. His strides also grew larger and larger. However, being an immortal, he was still faster than Qiao. Soon, he ran breathlessly in front of him, hands on his hips, panting heavily, and angrily said, "What the hell are you running from?" This immortal's mouth was really foul. Since he couldn't outrun him, Qiao stopped struggling. Instead, he put on a look of sincere humility, bowed respectfully, and cautiously said, "Immortal, please forgive me." This humble one just now did not know that Immortal was calling for this humble one. "May I ask Immortal's command?" However, in a place the man couldn't see, Qiao's brow furrowed slightly. Is this an immortal? An immortal running these few steps, and still getting out of breath? Then this immortal is too useless, isn't he? Don't play dumb. The chubby man pointed at Qiao's nose and angrily cursed, "I am the outer elder of the Jia Tian gang, responsible for recruiting disciples in Fufeng City. Do you want to cultivate immortality or not? Just one word." A crude and physically weak immortal. He looked like he could be killed with 2 slashes. Qiao subconsciously touched the chopping knife in his embrace, but his expression remained respectful as he straightened up and explained, reporting to Immortal, "I have had no aptitude for cultivation since childhood, so I have never thought of embarking on the path to immortality." "Never mind, it's fine." The man gasped a few times, then was about to speak when his expression suddenly grew strange. "Buddy, what did you just say? Cultivation aptitude?" Qiao was slightly stunned, unsure how to reply for a moment. Are immortals in this world so approachable? Using the word buddy when speaking to mortals? Although he was puzzled, he still instinctively said, "Yes." Ha 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 ha. Upon hearing this, the chubby man, covered in cold sweat, wiped his forehead, then snatched the pig's head meat from Qiao's hand. He unceremoniously tore open the oil paper and chewed heartily, looking quite excited. "Very good, very good." However, what the man didn't see was that Qiao's expression had visibly cooled. This pig's head meat was something he had been looking forward to for a whole month. It was quite possibly the happiest thing he had experienced since his transmigration. Everything he did today was in preparation for enjoying this pig's head meat even more. And now, his pig's head meat was just snatched away by this fat-headed, pig-brained man in front of him. This hatred far surpassed the hatred of having one's wife stolen. Qiao glanced around. Because a theatrical troupe was entering the city today, the city gate was packed with onlookers. At this moment, people were surging, and there were many official soldiers maintaining order. This was not a good place to act. There was a bamboo grove not far away. That might be a suitable place to chop people. Just as he was already calculating how to make his move, the man contentedly wiped the grease from the corner of his mouth. "Big hammer 80, how much for small hammer?" Qiao was instantly stunned, a hint of disbelief flashing in his eyes. He thought he had transmigrated alone, turns out it was a group transmigration. After a moment of hesitation. 40? Imperial Jade Liquid Wine, what's the next line? 180 a cup. Good brother. The chubby man contentedly put his arm around Qiao's shoulder, then turned and led Qiao to his stall. After putting away his Jia Tian gang banner, he took Qiao to the bamboo grove not far away. "Let me introduce myself, my name is Fei Long. When I was on Blue Star, I was the owner of a startup company. How should I address you, brother?" "My name is Qiao. When I was on Blue Star, I was a freelancer." Qiao nodded thoughtfully, gaining a preliminary understanding of the obese man in front of him. A startup company, which was pretty much a company hovering on the brink of collapse. All finances outsourced, no social security paid. Saturdays guaranteed, no holidays, Sundays holidays not guaranteed. Employees sue, company goes bankrupt the next day. "But are you sure your name is Fei Long? Is there such a surname on Blue Star?" No. Fei Long shook his head with certainty. "I named myself. When you're out and about, you have to give yourself an identity. How hard is it to recruit disciples now? If you don't give yourself a resounding name, who's going to follow you? The story I made up for myself is that when I was born, there was a strange phenomenon in the sky. A five-clawed Fei Long circled the sky 9 times before entering my body, proving that one day I will rise like a dragon and conquer the world. If you can find a note in a fish, it's perfectly reasonable for a five-clawed golden dragon to appear at birth, right? Fei Long took a deep breath, then casually took the strong liquor from Chen Qiu's hand. After downing it in one gulp, he let out a satisfied burp. It's been a long time since I've had such good food and wine. Chen Qiu looked at the empty ceramic bottle, calmly touched the chopping knife in his embrace, and glanced around without speaking, only quietly asking, "Aren't you the outer elder of the Jia Tian gang? Can't you afford pig's head meat? Didn't I say? When you're out and about, identities are self-assigned. I'm the only one in Jia Tian gang. So you don't have a sect? And you're not an outer elder? No sect, yet you recruit disciples? If you have disciples, won't a sect naturally form?" Chen Qiu fell silent again. Most people would probably think of establishing a sect first and then recruiting disciples. This guy's idea was that with disciples, a sect would naturally follow. He wouldn't comment on who was right or wrong, but he could only say this guy had a lot of guts. "Then you promised 100 copper coins just for joining? Do you have the money to give?" "No money." Fei Long nodded seriously, "But for newly admitted disciples, I send them into a secret realm. I'll give it to them if they come out alive. If they die, I don't have to give it. If they come out alive, the treasures they bring out of the secret realm will be worth more than 100 copper coins." "Is the secret realm death rate very high?" "Very high." "What if they come out alive and don't give you the treasures?" "I'm Qi refining stage 6, so I'm definitely stronger than newcomers. If they don't give it to me, I can just take it." "Since you are Qi refining stage 6, why don't you enter the secret realm yourself?" "Didn't I just say, the secret realm death rate is very high? I'm a bit afraid of death." "Aren't you?" "I am too." "Even so, how will you get a sect mountain?" "A sect must have a mountain, right? The sect focuses on training outer sect disciples through external travels. Only when they are promoted to inner sect disciples can they see the mountain gate." The two exchanged glances, Chen Qiu momentarily speechless. He knew it, none of these startup company owners were any good. This wasn't recruiting disciples at all, this was clearly recruiting people to die for him, and only giving them empty promises, no actual benefits. No wonder he couldn't recruit anyone, it would be a miracle if he did. Chapter 2, Item Name, Rising Step by Step. Chapter 2 Word Art Name, Rising Steadily. "Alright." Fei Long took a deep breath and said seriously, "We are both from the same place, so in this unfamiliar world, we can be considered family. It seems you don't understand this world yet, otherwise, you wouldn't have mentioned cultivation aptitude. Let me give you a general overview of this world's situation. This is a Xianxia world. But it's a little different from the worlds we used to read about in Xianxia novels. In this world, there's no such thing as aptitude. Everyone can cultivate, it just depends on whether you're willing, or rather, whether your initial word art is suitable for cultivation." "Word art?" "Exactly." Fei Long nodded heavily, "This world is like a huge Xianxia game. Secret realms even have fixed opening times, and there are various rankings, such as the Tianjia ranking, beauty ranking, cultivation ranking, and so on. From time to time, there are also regional announcements, which clearly state when and where fortuitous encounters will appear. At that time, countless cultivators will gather there. There are also things like sect establishment orders, city establishment orders, and kingdom establishment orders, and when someone is wanted, a red name will appear above their head. And I am currently at Qi refining stage 6 cultivation, having just broken through. I have been in this world for almost 5 months. At first, when I obtained the word art, I thought it was my golden finger, but then I found out that everyone has this thing. Everyone can obtain a word art after breaking through to Qi refining first level. This word art is completely random, and most are the lowest rank white word art, such as wood chopping Saint Body, which makes chopping wood much faster than others. Another example is Herb Saint Hand, which significantly increases the survival rate of planting spiritual plants. It's not very suitable for cultivation, but one can still smoothly enter the cultivation world to serve as an alchemist. Basically, the word art obtained at Qi refining first level determines the future career direction for most mortals. Most of the word art obtained at Qi refining first level are unrelated to combat power, they are all basic word art. Only after reaching the foundation establishment stage do you have a chance to obtain some awesome word art. Many originally unremarkable fellow Taoists suddenly took off after breaking through to the foundation establishment stage and coincidentally obtaining an extremely awesome word art. After the Qi refining stage, for every major realm breakthrough, you can choose one from 3 random word art, such as Foundation Establishment Stage, Golden Core Stage, Nascent Soul Stage, etc. To survive in this world, you must become an immortal. Otherwise, someone with my cultivation can easily kill you. Don't you think that's very dangerous? Chen Qiu nodded. Although he didn't understand why an immortal at Qi refining stage 6 was so weak, he didn't agree that Fei Long could easily kill him. He only thought this inwardly, but did not refute verbally. He probably understood the situation of this world, it was like a game, yet also reality, similar to a fusion product of a game and a Xianxia world. Then what was your word art when you broke through to Qi refining first level? This. Fei Long's expression suddenly showed a hint of difficulty. After hesitating for a long time, he finally sighed, well, there's no harm in showing you. My luck isn't very good, otherwise, I wouldn't be planning to establish a sect to pave the way for my own cultivation. Fei Long waved his hand. A translucent panel, enveloped by mist, suddenly appeared in midair. This method indeed seemed like an immortal's technique. Word art name, 9 oxen strength. Word art rank, white. Word art effect, possesses 9 oxen. Chen Qiu's mouth instinctively slowly opened for a long while before he murmured, what does possesses 9 oxen mean? It can't be literal, can it? Fei Long nodded somewhat irritably. The first word art obtained basically determined a person's career development direction, and yet he was randomly assigned such a word art, which made him feel annoyed whenever he thought about it. May I ask, can I witness it? What do you think? Then never mind. Although Fei Long was annoyed, he still took a deep breath calmly and said seriously, it's very simple to reach Qi refining first level cultivation, you just need to be able to perform inner vision. As long as you calm your mind and try to see your body's meridians in a complete darkness, it counts as success. This is free. The city lords' mansions in various cities all offer this free service. They will give you a bowl of medicinal liquid and then help you perform inner vision to successfully obtain your first word art. But since ancient times, free things are always the most expensive. If you happen to be unlucky enough to randomly get a word art suitable for demonic cultivator or evil cultivator, these not so positive word art, then congratulations, you'll be beheaded on the spot. If you happen to randomly get word art suitable for planting spiritual plants or raising spirit beasts, congratulations, you'll soon be captured by some cultivation sects and treated as Palu, spending your entire life doing these tasks within the sect. Of course, if you get other normal word art, then the government will recommend suitable paths for you. These are the paths taken by the poor. Many people still choose to buy medicinal liquid themselves and test their first word art themselves, which at least avoids life-threatening danger. I happen to have a bottle of medicinal liquid here. As fellow countrymen, and seeing that you're quite sharp, I'll give you this medicinal liquid. In the future, you can acknowledge me as your boss and follow me, no problem, right? Chen Qiu didn't speak. He just looked at the broken porcelain bottle in Fei Long's hand, pondered for a moment, then took the bottle and drank it all. In an instant, he felt his head suddenly dizzy, his eyelids involuntarily closed, and his body also felt somewhat weak. At the same time, a loud shout also came from his ears. Sit cross-legged, close your eyes, and calm your mind. Chen Qiu did as he was told. A few breaths later, he suddenly felt a glimmer of light appear in the darkness. He stared intently, only to see the light growing farther and farther away, then suddenly exploding. In that instant, he clearly saw the meridians within his body. At the same time, a panel, enveloped by mist and visible only to him, suddenly appeared before his eyes. Cultivation greatly increased, officially entering Qi refining first level. First time obtaining a random word art. Randomizing. Randomization successful, word art name rising steadily. Word art name, rising steadily. Word art rank, 7 colored. Word art effect, for every minor realm cultivation advancement, a word art can be obtained, and each time 3 random word art will appear, from which one can be freely chosen. How is it? Seeing Qinqiu slowly open his eyes, Fei Long, who was beside him, couldn't help but lean closer, his eyes full of anticipation as he asked, "How is it? Is the word art related to combat power?" Generally speaking, the first word art is highly unlikely to be related to combat power. But if one is lucky enough to obtain a word art related to combat power, they can smoothly transition to the foundation establishment stage. After reaching the foundation establishment stage, each time you choose a word art, 3 random word art will appear, and you can freely choose the one most suitable for yourself. As long as you reach the foundation establishment stage, you are a true immortal. Unrelated. Qinqiu was silent for a while, then shook his head. It's more of a late-stage word art, not very useful in the early stages. He didn't elaborate. Fei Long also didn't ask for details. And Qinqiu now also discovered that after his cultivation broke through to Qi refining first level, whenever he performed inner vision, he could see a panel suspended above his meridians, also enveloped by mist, within his body. Name, Qinqiu. Cultivation, Qi refining first level, 0%. Word art, rising steadily. Cultivation technique, none. Spirit beast, none. Faction, none. Country, Great Xia Kingdom. At this moment, his body strength was almost no different from before. His only means of attack was still the somewhat worn-out wood-chopping knife in his arms, which didn't quite fit his stereotype of Xianxia. Just then, a heavenly Dao voice suddenly exploded in both their ears. Heavenly Dao Edict, responding to the sincere summoning of the residents, Heavenly Dao bestows blessings. A Heavenly Dao secret realm will appear in the bamboo forest 3 li east of Fufeng City, Great Xia Kingdom, limited to cultivators at Qi refining stage 6 and below. The entrance opens immediately and closes at sunset. Chapter 3, A Killing Type of Heavenly Dao Secret Realm. The moment that voice fell, Qinqiu subconsciously scanned his surroundings. Besides the 2 of them, there was no one else in the bamboo forest, and the voice seemed to ring directly in his mind, deep yet ethereal. It's the Heavenly Dao Secret Realm. Fei Long, who was about to say something more beside him, immediately jumped up excitedly upon hearing the voice. I didn't expect our luck to be so good. We actually encountered a Heavenly Dao Secret Realm. Secret realms are divided into many types, some are generated by the Heavenly Dao's own perception, and others are set up by other senior experts before their deaths. There are many types. The Heavenly Dao Secret Realm is not the one with the highest rewards, but it is the safest. Moreover, everything operates according to rules, there's nothing designed to intentionally trap or kill you, making it very suitable for small fries like us. I've been transmigrating for several months, and I've only encountered it once. That time, it allowed me to break through from Qi refining stage 4 to Qi refining stage 5. At the same time, a slowly rotating white vortex, 2 people tall, abruptly appeared 3 zhang away from the 2 of them. This was the secret realm entrance. This so-called voice of the Heavenly Dao should be the regional announcement Fei Long mentioned. Secret realm name, Duki Small World. Secret realm restriction, only cultivators at Qi refining stage 6 and below may enter. Secret realm type, kill. Secret realm introduction, contains a small world with treasures such as cultivation techniques and spiritual plants. A maximum of 100 cultivators can enter. When dawn breaks, remaining living cultivators can successfully return to the Great World. Fei Long, who had excitedly rushed to the white vortex entrance, stopped with a grim expression after seeing the secret realm panel enveloped by mist in front of the vortex, subconsciously retreating a few steps. Our luck doesn't seem to be that good after all. It's a very rare kill-type Heavenly Dao secret realm. This kind of Heavenly Dao secret realm is basically like a slaughterhouse, it's extremely bloody, and the death rate is extremely high. Qin Qiu stood at the secret realm entrance, already hearing the sound of many footsteps from outside the bamboo forest. Clearly, many cultivators were rapidly converging here. He looked at the secret realm panel before him. He had been chopping firewood in this world for 30 days and never imagined such a thing existed. But he quickly accepted everything before him. You seem very afraid. Aren't you Qi refining stage 6? That's the highest cultivation allowed to enter this secret realm. Logically speaking, once you go in, you should be the type to wreak havoc, right? Hee. Fei Long forced out a bitter smile. Brother Qin Qiu, you're overestimating me a bit. Although I'm Qi refining stage 6, I basically have no offensive means. No cultivation technique, no spiritual weapon. Just a few talismans I've accumulated over these days, for self-preservation. They're completely inadequate in there. Qi refining stage 6 is a threshold. Only by breaking through Qi refining stage 6 will one's physical strength be greatly enhanced. And by breaking through to the foundation establishment stage, spiritual Qi can be released externally, protecting and attacking. That's when one truly becomes an immortal. Qi refining stage 6, to be frank, isn't much stronger than Qi refining first level. At most, one could fight 3 or 4 Qi refining first level cultivators, and that's an arena battle setting. If it's a group fight, 3 or 4 wouldn't be enough to handle. If we encounter a Qi refining stage 6 cultivator inside who has a strong background, practices cultivation techniques, and possesses spiritual weapons, we'll all be finished in this secret realm. Let's not consider this secret realm. Let's find another one. Is that so? Qin Qiu glanced at the first group of people who had arrived beside him and casually said, "It seems we can't not go in now." The first group of people to arrive were uniformly dressed in black coarse linen, each carrying a wood-chopping knife, with white cloth strips binding their legs, looking agile and strong. Each of them was burly and had a fierce, fleshy face. The leading strong man stared at Qin Qiu with a ferocious and ruthless expression, grinning. "Kid, I didn't expect to catch you here. You killed one of our brothers and then disappeared. We've been looking for you for a whole day. What a small world." Subsequently, the group pressed closer, step by step. Qin Qiu did not speak. He merely reached into his embrace to retrieve his wood-chopping knife and pulled out a strip of cloth from his bosom to tightly bind the knife handle to his right hand. Only then did he stretch his body and glance at the group of local bullies gradually approaching him. Yesterday, he had cut down a lone local bully. There was only one witness at the scene, a woman who claimed to be 3 months pregnant and also a victim of the local bully's torment. After pleading for a long time, he softened his heart nature. But at this moment, that woman stood among the group, staring at him with a sinister gaze, also carrying a wood-chopping knife in her arms. She didn't look 3 months pregnant at all. Well, consider it a lesson learned. If there's a next time, it'll be a buy one get one free deal. He didn't speak further, he simply walked straight into the white vortex beside him, instantly disappearing from his original spot. If he didn't enter the secret realm, a fierce battle awaited him. Entering the secret realm still offered a glimmer of hope. The Fufeng City soldiers were maintaining order at the city gate and couldn't attend to this area. Seeing the group of people closing in, Fei Long's throat involuntarily swallowed. He raised his hands, his face bitter, and his voice trembling with a hint of a sob. "Do you believe me if I say I don't know him? You can't harm innocent people. What do you think?" Understood. Seeing that it had come to this, Fei Long knew he couldn't escape alone. He bravely shouted and strode into the white vortex before him. He was timid by nature, and according to his heart nature, he would definitely not willingly step into a kill-type Heavenly Dao secret realm. But he couldn't stand against the wolves behind him. It's a kill-type Heavenly Dao secret realm. Seeing that both of them had disappeared into the secret realm, one of the younger brothers, after checking the secret realm panel, jogged to the leading man's side and hesitantly asked, "Boss, should we go after them?" "Go after what?" The leading man sneered, kill type Heavenly Dao secret realms. Out of 100 who enter, it's unknown if even 50 will come out alive. That's a bloody slaughterhouse. We'll just wait outside. Even if those two are lucky enough to come out, they'll definitely be severely injured. Then we'll avenge our dead brother. If they die inside, then our brother's revenge is also taken. Boss is brilliant. Upon hearing this, the group behind them all subconsciously let out a long sigh of relief. They truly didn't want to enter a kill-type Heavenly Dao secret realm. That wasn't about them threatening people with knives as usual, it was about genuinely fighting for their lives. They were just local bullies. They didn't really want to fight for their lives. I say, Brother Chinqiu. The moment he entered the secret realm, Fei Long saw Chinqiu looking around beside him, and with a mournful and somewhat helpless expression, he said, "How did you provoke such a group of local bullies? Even if we get out alive, they'll definitely be waiting for us at the entrance. We'll still be hard-pressed to escape death then." Chinqiu did not speak. He merely held the wood-chopping knife in his hand and scanned this small world. There were forests, grasslands, bushes, and even a desert. It wasn't too small. His plan was actually very simple. During his conversation with Fei Long just now, Fei Long had told him many ways to improve his cultivation, one of which was to kill Yao beasts. He only needed to quickly break through to Qi refining stage 2, which would allow him to gain a new word art. If he could gain a combat-type word art, he might have a chance to survive. Chapter 4, his cultivation level has greatly increased, and he has officially entered the second level of the Qi refining stage. Chapter 4, cultivation greatly increased, officially entering Qi refining second level. However, Chinqiu looked down at his legs, his brow slightly furrowed. His legs seemed to be bound by an unknown force. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't move a step. It's useless. Seeing Chinqiu's movements, Fei Long's expression was not good, but he still forced himself to say, "Before the entrance closes, all cultivators who enter a secret realm are unable to move. This is a Heavenly Dao rule. And at this time, you cannot exit either. Only when the secret realm entrance closes can cultivators begin to move freely. This is to ensure that all cultivators are on an even playing field, so no one who enters the secret realm first gains a significant advantage. But even so, entering a secret realm early still provides an advantage. Look over there." Fei Long pointed to 4 red lights soaring into the sky in the west. In the Heavenly Dao secret realm, red light represents a mind cultivation technique opportunity. If you prefer a mind cultivation technique, then run towards the west later. There are 3 blue lights in the east. Blue light represents cultivation technique. Whether it's defensive cultivation techniques, offensive cultivation techniques, or various flying beast taming cultivation techniques, they are all blue lights. The 7 purple lights in the north will probably attract the most people later. Purple light represents spirit treasure, which is also the most favored item by all cultivators. Chinqiu nodded. He had to admit that although his acquaintance with Fei Long wasn't pleasant, this fat-headed, pig-brained man ate his hard-earned pig's head meat and strong liquor. This information was definitely worth the price. There was no internet in this world. Information was relatively blocked. For instance, before this, he had never known this information. Exchanging a bit of pig's head meat for so much intelligence was very worthwhile. In a way, Fei Long could be considered his benefactor. A benefactor doesn't necessarily mean someone who gives you great wealth. Someone who can guide your path is also a benefactor. After a pause, he pointed to the black light soaring into the sky in the south. There's only one black light in the south. What's there? The biggest opportunity? Hee. Fei Long's mouth twitched slightly. Do you think the words black and opportunity can go together? Black usually means that the strongest vicious beast in this secret realm resides there. It's best not to get close. Understood. Chinqiu looked towards the forest in the south, vaguely seeing many Yao beasts moving within it. He narrowed his eyes slightly, then looked up into the distance. The entire small world is enveloped by a huge white membrane. will this membrane gradually shrink? You guessed right, it's just as you imagined, similar to the battle royale games we used to play. This is why I am so wary of kill-type Heavenly Dao secret realms, the death rate is truly too high. And at this moment, many people had already entered this secret realm one after another. They were mostly burly men, some dressed as bodyguards, some as villagers, and some wearing sect attire, clearly disciples of a certain sect. It could be said that all walks of life were here, and everyone's face was generally grim. Of course, in this situation, few people would be able to smile. After entering the small world, everyone could only gather around the white vortex, standing still and waiting patiently. Before sunset, the secret realm filled up with 100 people. The secret realm entrance closed early. In an instant, everyone suddenly found that the unknown force binding their legs had disappeared. Everyone regained their freedom, and immediately, almost everyone shot towards the east, west, and north directions. No one fought. Everyone tacitly saved their strength for the end, rushing with all their might. Those with high cultivation who had spirit treasures and cultivation techniques ran in the first echelon, while those with poorer cultivation followed in the second echelon. Some who clearly had very low cultivation and came to try their luck remained in the third echelon. Among them, over 40 people went to the desert in the north. Clearly, the purple light representing spirit treasure there was more attractive. What are you waiting for? Just then, Fei Long anxiously turned his head to look at Qin Qiu, who was standing still, and urged, "We should hurry too. Standing still will make us seem timid. I am a cultivator at Qi Refining Stage 6, after all. As long as I speak a bit arrogantly and boast about myself, they won't know my true strength and probably won't rashly attack us. Especially since we haven't snatched any treasures, they have no reason to fight us. But if we show timidity now, it's very likely we'll be sacrificed later." It must be said. Fei Long had been in this world for almost 5 months and had summarized a set of survival strategies suitable for himself. However, Qin Qiu shook his head, looking straight into the distance. "Completely entrusting my life to the caution and consideration of others feels too insecure. I have a better solution: go south." Only in the south were there Yao beasts active. South. In the forest, Fei Long gasped for breath, waving the longsword in his hand, once again severely injuring a Yao beast. Only after kicking this Yao beast in front of Qin Qiu did he nervously glance at the constantly dissipating colorful lights in the distance. Every disappearing colorful light meant that a treasure had been taken. A fierce battle was sure to follow. Wasting a lot of physical strength at this moment would make it even harder to survive later. He hurriedly turned his head back to Qin Qiu and anxiously urged, "Brother Qin Qiu, are you sure that the word art you gained when your cultivation broke through to Qi Refining first level means that your strength will increase just by breaking through to Qi Refining second level? That sounds too vague. Can it be stronger than Qi Refining Stage 6? At this moment, he already had several injuries left by the Yao beasts in their death throes. They weren't severe or fatal, but they definitely affected his combat power and others' assessment of his combat power. Qin Qiu nodded without elaborating. He just took a deep breath, gripped the saber hilt tightly with both hands, bent his knees slightly, and stared intently at the hungry wolf in front of him, which was glaring at him with fierce eyes. He would meet changes with no change. Finally, the hungry wolf couldn't hold back anymore. With a roar, it charged straight at him. Qin Qiu shifted his feet slightly to dodge the attack, then concentrated all the strength in his body into his arms and, with the momentum, swung his saber. Blood splattered. One strike killed it instantly, and he also conveniently killed the dying Yao beast that Fei Long had kicked over. By now, more than an hour had passed since the secret realm began. He had spent basically half his time in this forest fighting. He was already exhausted. From initially clumsy combat, he now had some combat experience. He had killed 20-odd vicious beasts at Qi Refining first level. The vicious beasts here were all hungry wolves, and their cultivation was basically at Qi Refining first level, otherwise, they would have been truly difficult to kill. The familiar panel enveloped by mist finally reappeared before him. Cultivation greatly increased, officially entering Qi refining second level. Due to the word art rising steadily, this cultivation breakthrough allows you to gain another word art. Please choose from the 3 random word arts below within 10 breaths. 1. Word art name, seize the initiative. Word art rank, green. Word art effect, upon entering a heavenly Dao secret realm, you can break through the binding restrictions and move freely while the secret realm entrance is still open. 2. Word art name, aptitude for alchemy. Word art rank, white. Word art effect, your success rate in refining medicinal pills will slightly increase. 3. Word art name, foundation establishment postponement. Word art rank, green. Word art effect, your Qi refinement stage will extend from the normal 9 levels to 11 levels. After this, when you undergo foundation establishment, the spiritual Qi in your Dantian will be more abundant and pure compared to other cultivators undergoing foundation establishment at the same time, and your foundation establishment success rate will also be higher. Qin Qiu gasped for a few breaths, sticking the blood-stained wood-chopping knife into the muddy ground beside him. The cloth strip that had originally bound the hilt to his right hand had long disappeared during the battle. He looked at the 3 word art options on the panel, which was enveloped in mist and exuded a mysterious charm. After a moment of silence, he turned his head to the restless Fei Long and softly said, "My strength has increased a bit. But it's still a little short. If I can break through to Qi refining 3rd level, then it will definitely be fine." "Are you kidding me, my good brother?" Fei Long couldn't help but roar in anger. "Do you think cultivation breakthrough is that simple? Breaking through from Qi refining 1st level to Qi refining 3rd level in one day? Do you think cultivation breakthrough is like drinking cold water? I've been in this world for 5 months, and my cultivation is only at Qi refining stage 6, okay? To purely rely on killing Yao beasts to gain cultivation points and allow you to break through to Qi refining 3rd level, you would need to kill at least 1 Yao beast with Qi refining stage 6 cultivation. The surrounding area is full of small Yao beasts at Qi refining 1st level. Where are you going to find a Yao beast with that level of cultivation?" Just then, roar. A violent burst of demonic Qi suddenly exploded from deep within the forest, and at the same time, a sudden roar echoed. Accompanied by the shaking of the ground, it was clear that an extremely ferocious vicious beast had awakened deep in the forest, and its target was very clear as it charged straight towards him. With this intensity of demonic Qi, its cultivation was at least Qi refining stage 6, or even higher. Fei Long, standing still, lowered his head and was silent for a moment, then suddenly let out a soft sigh, his voice becoming somewhat hoarse. "Perhaps I have the hidden word art words become reality. Or perhaps I shouldn't have pulled you back in the crowd then. In any case, we have to fight with all our might. Once this vicious beast locks onto us, there's no escaping. We can only fight. I hope we win. I'm at Qi refining stage 6, stronger than you. I'll take the front, you look for an opportunity from the side." Qin Qiu didn't speak further. He just pulled out the wood-chopping knife that was stuck in the mud and looked at the large, silver-furred wolf king that was indistinctly charging towards them from the forest not far away. Chapter 5, Item Name, the God of Qi Refining. Chapter 5 Word Art Name, God of Qi Refining. The Wolf King, which was about to charge at them, had demonic Qi so thick it was almost tangible, and its aura was extremely fierce. A normal modern person, facing a charging Wolf King, if they can keep their legs from trembling, they would already be considered a hero among men. At least, Qin Qiu's breathing became uncontrollably rapid at this moment. His body was trembling slightly. An indescribable fear surged into his heart, his mind began to become extremely dazed, and he felt as if everything around him had slowed down. Just then, roar. Accompanied by a roar, the Wolf King charged straight at Qin Qiu from the forest with an astonishing aura. Perhaps because Qin Qiu had killed too many Wolf Yao, the Wolf King's target was directly locked onto Qin Qiu. Freeze! Fei Long pulled out a talisman from his embrace. As spiritual Qi surged into it, the talisman instantly ignited and shot into the Wolf King's body. The Wolf King's movements visibly slowed down. Slash. Fei Long pulled out another talisman. After it instantly burned, a blade of light formed by spiritual chi appeared out of thin air and slashed straight at the Wolf King. As blood splattered, a terrifying, bone-deep, continuously gushing wound appeared on the Wolf King's back. Immediately after, without giving the Wolf King much time to react, Fei Long roared to encourage himself, raised the long sword in his hand, and charged forward, thrusting it deep into the wound. The intense pain made the Wolf King howl and struggle continuously. Fortunately, it was only a Yao beast at Qi refining stage 6 after all. Other than its body's toughness being higher than the two of them. It didn't know any spells. Its fighting style was still like a wild beast, relying on its body's toughness to fight. Chen Qiu was not idle either. He immediately circled to the other side, and he and Fei Long formed two directions, surrounding the Wolf King in the middle and launching a guerrilla siege. The severely wounded Wolf King now had thoughts of retreating, but it was too late. Neither of them attacked with full force. They conserved their strength like this. No matter which one the Wolf King attacked, the chosen person would immediately pull away, not giving the Wolf King a chance to touch them, and the other person would also take the opportunity to approach and harass the Wolf King. After a few breaths. Rip. When the Wolf King's movements finally became slower and slower due to excessive blood loss, Fei Long pulled back, signaling Chen Qiu to go forward. Chen Qiu didn't waste any time either, taking large strides to the Wolf King's side, and with a full-force strike, his wood-chopping knife directly chopped into the Wolf King's neck. Even after suffering such a fatal blow, the Wolf King did not die on the spot. Instead, its body struggled even harder as if experiencing a final burst of energy. The blade was stuck in its neck and couldn't be pulled out for a while. Chen Qiu simply pressed his entire body onto the Wolf King, concentrating all his strength on the handle of the knife, and desperately continued to hack the blade deeper into the neck. Finally, the Wolf King's body gradually stiffened, completely stopped struggling, and ceased breathing. A Yao beast at Qi refining stage 6 thus met its demise. Damn it. When the battle ended, Fei Long, who had been full of vigor, suddenly felt a wave of fatigue coming from the depths of his heart. His legs gave out, and he slumped to the ground, looking at the blood covering his clothes, and then at the Wolf King's corpse in front of him with a somewhat dazed expression. At this moment, the Wolf King's silvery white fur was completely stained red. The demonic chi on its body was also slowly dissipating. Its pupils had also begun to unfocus. Every sign indicated that this once mighty Wolf King was truly dead, and they were the ones who had killed it. Am I that amazing? Fei Long lowered his head in a daze and looked at his hands. He had never thought that he could personally kill a Yao beast at Qi refining stage 6. At the same cultivation realm, Yao beasts were often stronger than cultivators, especially since he didn't have cultivation techniques or magic treasures, so his strength should have been slightly lower. But now it seems he seemed to need to reevaluate his own strength. A Yao beast at Qi refining stage 6 was nothing more than that. Chen Qiu, at this moment, was also panting and slumped onto the grass. The wood-chopping knife that had accompanied him for over 30 days was still embedded in the Wolf King's neck and hadn't been pulled out. He checked his body. There were many injuries, but they weren't serious. Most of them were scrapes. Only his abdomen had a wolf claw mark, which was constantly seeping blood and felt a bit stinging. After his cultivation entered Qi refining stage 2, he chose the green word art foundation establishment postponement among the 3 random word arts. The first 2 word arts were not very useful to him. He had never considered alchemy, so he didn't need that alchemy word art. Although he actually quite liked the seize the initiative word art, which meant that when he entered the heavenly Dao secret realm again in the future, he could act in advance. Whether it was setting up traps or getting rewards first, it was excellent. But comparatively, he still felt that the foundation establishment postponement word art was more suitable for him. It was equivalent to giving him 2 more word arts, and it could also improve the success rate of foundation establishment, which was quite good. Just then, a faint ball of light floated from the Wolf King's corpse into the air and merged into Chen Qiu's body. He only felt his body instantly warm, and even the pain recovered a lot. When he looked inward again, sure enough, a text panel wrapped in mist appeared inside his body again. Cultivation greatly increased, officially entering Qi refining 3rd level. Due to the word art rising steadily, this cultivation breakthrough will grant another word art. Please choose from the 3 random word arts below within 10 breaths. 1. Word art name, God of Qi refining. Word art rank, gray. Word art effect, you will permanently be unable to successfully foundation establishment, but your lifespan will be extended by 500 years. 2. Word art name, Decree of King Yama. Word art rank, gray. Word art effect, you will definitely die 1 year later, but you will absolutely not die within 1 year. 3. Word art name, Wraith summoning. Word art rank, green. Word art effect, creatures killed by you will transform into wraiths and attach themselves to your body. You can summon them at any time to fight for you. They will possess their peak strength from when they were alive, but they can only exist for 1 hour after being summoned, after which they will dissipate into the world. Qin Qiu looked at the 3 random word arts in front of him, pondered for a moment, and then chose the 3rd word art, Wraith summoning. It seemed there was nothing to consider, the first 2 had drawbacks that were too significant. Only the 3rd word art was the combat power word art he urgently needed now. Moreover, it was a skill-type word art. So far, except for this word art, the other word arts he had randomly acquired were basically auxiliary or passive. Only this one could be actively activated. Fei Long. Qin Qiu, who was sitting on the ground, rested for a moment, then turned his head to Fei Long and said softly, "Thanks. To be honest, this pork head meat was worth it." He helped him kill monsters, even let him have the last hit on the Wolf King, and used up Fei Long's only 2 talismans. To be honest, he felt a little embarrassed. If it weren't for Fei Long, he really wouldn't have been able to enter Qi refining 3rd level so quickly. It's nothing. Fei Long thought of the 2 talismans he had painstakingly saved. Although he felt a little pained, he still forced a generous shake of his head. At least our cooperation was surprisingly tacit, which is good. In this dangerous and unfamiliar world, having a teammate like you is quite good. Actually, what he didn't tell Qin Qiu was that before he met Qin Qiu, he had also found several other compatriots who had transmigrated. Those compatriots were all in high positions. He went up to try to get close, but they all gave him the cold shoulder and ridiculed him. It was very embarrassing. It's better to stay with someone whose cultivation is lower than his, at least he won't be ridiculed. Chapter 6, Mind Your Own Business. Right. Qin Qiu recalled the 3 word arts he had just randomly acquired and hesitantly asked, "How are the ranks of word arts distinguished?" About that, Fei Long nodded solemnly. The ranks of word arts, from lowest to highest, are white, green, yellow, blue, purple. Above those are red, gold, pink, and 7-colored. There are 9 ranks in total. They subtly embody the meaning of heavenly Tao. All cultivators can only obtain a random word art when they achieve a major breakthrough in their realm, and the rank of this random word art is closely related to their own cultivation realm. The higher the cultivation, the higher the rank of the word art that can be randomly acquired. For example, although Qi refinement stage theoretically has a chance to randomly acquire a 7-colored entry, the actual probability is pitifully low, perhaps only 1 lucky person in 10,000 years. But if you are already at the tribulation transcendence stage, the probability of randomly acquiring a 7-colored entry when you break through a major cultivation realm will be much higher. These 9 ranks are all the ranks for word arts. Fei Long paused, looked up at the black light slowly dissipating above his head, and continued, "Besides these, there are also some special rank word arts, such as Grey word art. Grey word art is not among these 9 ranks and cannot be ranked. Grey word art is often a word art with extremely powerful effects, but also extremely severe drawbacks. If you happen to randomly acquire a Grey word art, then, it's really hard to say whether it's a blessing or a curse. It depends on fate." Qin Qiu nodded without speaking. To be honest, the two grey word arts just now did have pretty good effects. For certain specific groups of people, like ordinary mortals who have no dream of cultivating, getting 500 years of lifespan for free is also quite good. It's just a bit tormenting, watching your friends and family leave one by one. The second decree of King Yama could be considered an extension of 1 year of life for some cultivators who are about to die. Moreover, during this year, they can act recklessly, or for a sect's grand elder, this year can be spent contributing and burning for the sect. Of course, in most cases, this word art is more like King Yama's death warrant. Just then, a translucent light curtain, enveloping the entire small world behind the two, slowly approached them. "Let's go, brother Chinchou, the circle is shrinking." Fei Long got up from the ground, casually put the long sword in his storage pouch, and muttered, "When I have money in the future, the first thing I'll do is get a bladed magic treasure. This long sword is really awkward to use." Dressed in blood-stained clothes, the two slowly walked from the forest to the central plain. At this moment, nearly 10 people were scattered across the plain, each also covered in bloodstains. At a glance, many of them had serious injuries. Their gazes towards Chinchou and Fei Long were filled with a hint of apprehension and vigilance. "Fellow Taoists." Just then, a middle-aged man with a scar on his cheek stepped forward, looked at Chinchou and Fei Long, and said in a deep voice, "According to Jianghu rules, in kill-type Heavenly Tao secret realms, when the last ray of light dissipates, it means the battle must cease. Whatever treasures are in whose hands are their opportunity. No more snatching is allowed." It's no wonder these people were full of apprehension. Don't normal people enter kill-type Heavenly Tao secret realms for treasures? Who would go to the black area? It is well known that the strongest vicious beasts in the entire secret realm are in the black area, and there are no treasures there besides them. And only one type of person would go to such a place, battle maniacs. Whether they are Jianghu wanderers, sect disciples, government lackeys, or even low-class ruffians, the only people they truly fear are battle maniacs. These people often don't follow any rules and don't care about any benefits. Their life goal is battle, and fighting to the death is their creed. Commonly known as head choppers. And in the eyes of these people at this moment, Chinchou and Fei Long were battle maniacs, and powerful ones at that. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to kill the strongest vicious beast in this secret realm with seemingly no serious injuries. Chinchou didn't speak, merely glanced around. As expected, all the soaring lights from earlier had disappeared, indicating that all the treasures had already found owners and were in the hands of this group of people. Only 9 people were standing here now. However, 100 people had entered this small world. This meant that in just this short period, 89 people had already died in the scramble for treasures. He remained silent. Although he hadn't seen those 89 people, it was still so many lives, just dying in this small world, which couldn't help but make him feel a bit melancholic. If not for Fei Long, perhaps he would have died here too? Fei Long feigned composure and waved his hand, just about to bluff his way through and smoothly leave the secret realm. Just then, rip! Among the 9 people standing on the plain, 3 suddenly drew their blades and lunged, targeting the nearest people. They gave no time for reaction. In just 2 or 3 breaths, only 4 people remained standing. 3 men in different clothes, holding sharp blades, surrounded a seemingly ordinary young man in the middle, their gazes fierce and cold as they stared directly at Chinchou and Fei Long. Without giving Chinchou and Fei Long a chance to speak, the ordinary young man in the middle pulled out a fan from somewhere, casually fanning himself, and looked at Chinchou and the others with a half-smile. "What, have you never seen such a low-key young master? You know, what I hate most are those young masters in fancy clothes, with their subordinates all dressed in uniform, as if afraid their target isn't conspicuous enough. Look, like me, having my subordinates wear different clothes, pretending to be loose cultivators mixed in the crowd. When the crucial moment comes to strike, who can react? These days, cultivation can't just rely on brute force, you also need brains. All the treasures in this secret realm, I, Huang Shikai, want them all. As for you two, how do you want to die?" As he spoke, Huang Shikai's eyes held a slight apprehension towards the two. Originally, his plan was going smoothly. Since he had come to this small world, all the treasures in it should naturally be his. But he hadn't expected two battle maniacs of unknown strength to suddenly appear, which made him feel a little unsure. Otherwise, he wouldn't have wasted so many words. Although the strongest were only at Qi refining stage 6, there were still differences even within Qi refining stage 6. Young Master Huang. Fei Long didn't hesitate at all. His knees instantly buckled, and he knelt on the ground, cupping his fists with a serious expression. Your reputation precedes you. I've long heard of your handsomeness, charisma, and youthful achievements. Seeing you today, it truly lives up to your reputation. We don't want any of the treasures in this small world. Can we just go our separate ways and part ways here? What do you think? Huang Shikai, who had been feeling a bit unsure, instantly felt confident upon seeing Fei Long's behavior. He sneered, took a step back, and waved his hand, saying, kill them all. Leave no survivors, so the news won't leak. Otherwise, if what just happened got out, it would certainly damage his reputation. With such a cowardly demeanor, he didn't seem to have any backing. He looked like a loose cultivator, and dying would be for nothing. Chen Qiao, standing nearby, didn't speak. He just lowered his head and wiped the blood from his firewood chopping knife with a corner of his clothes. Then, he patted Fei Long's shoulder and said softly, get up. They can't beat us. We still need to cross this river. I really want these treasures in the small world. The next instant, a dense surge of resentment suddenly erupted from Chen Qiao. Immediately after, more than 20 wolf demons at Qi refining first level cultivation and one wolf king at Qi refining stage 6 cultivation appeared out of thin air beside Chen Qiao. These vengeful spirits were semi-transparent and seemed somewhat ethereal, but the combined might of their resentment and demonic Qi appeared extremely terrifying. Roar. Several roars, one after another, suddenly echoed across the plain. Chapter 7, a full-strength attack, but he couldn't break the defense? These wolf demons were all vengeful spirits who had just died by his hand. At this moment, their wolf bodies were uniformly translucent, appearing extremely ethereal. This naturally included the Wolf King. The Wolf King's strength was naturally beyond doubt. If not for Fei Long's two talismans, the two of them would not have been able to kill the Wolf King. The most important reason they could kill the Wolf King was that this Qi refining stage 6 Wolf King appeared only after all of his subordinates had died. Otherwise, if they had attacked together, with the Wolf Demon subordinates providing support, it would be hard to say what the outcome would have been. Although the cultivation of these three people in front of him was unknown, as bodyguards for a young master, they must be stronger than ordinary people in both cultivation and combat experience. He was also a bit unsure who would stand until the end in this life-and-death battle. But, with a big battle imminent, they could not let their aura weaken. Chen Qiao stood in place, holding his cleaver, looking calmly at the four people not far away, and said softly, kill. As his voice fell, the wolf demon vengeful spirits behind him roared and charged forward in unison, as if they had received an order. What kind of method is this? Fei Long, who stood to the side, looked at this scene with bright eyes. Brother Chen Qiao, is this the word art you randomly obtained when you broke through to Qi refining first level? You can summon vengeful spirits? No wonder Brother Chen said you would become stronger when you broke through to Qi refining third level, so that's how it is. The restriction of this word art must be that it can only be used at Qi refining third level, right? And since Brother Chen Qiao said it's a late-stage word art, presumably as Brother Chen Qiao's realm increases, the summoned vengeful spirits will also become stronger, right? A growth-type active skill word art. Brother Chen Qiao, your luck is really good. A hint of envy flashed in Fei Long's eyes, then he felt a bit annoyed. Why was his luck so bad? What was the use of giving him 9 oxen strength? Not only was it useless, but it also had all side effects. It was both ugly and uncomfortable. There was nothing he could do. It's not like in ancient times there was Hui shooting down 9 suns, and now there is. Fortunately, the 3 bodyguards under this young master had exhausted their stamina after multiple battles and were not lightly injured. They didn't even wait for Chen Qiu and the other to join the battle. The battle ended. All 3 died tragically under the fangs of the Wolf King. Damn it! Seeing that the Wolf King had already focused on him, its scarlet pupils constantly exuding a bloodthirsty aura, the young master Huang Shikai couldn't help but let out an angry, high-pitched sneer. Good, 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 you have guts, but you're still a bit short if you want to kill me. Don't ever think I'm like that profligate young master. I rely on my brain. The next moment, the young man's hands and feet suddenly glowed yellow. This was clearly a sign of a cultivation technique being activated. Only those at Qi refining stage 6 could learn cultivation techniques. Ordinary people didn't have this financial power. Yellow grade low rank cultivation technique, iron sand palm. Then, as the Wolf King charged towards him, the young master instantly dropped to the ground, thrusting his hands and feet straight into the earth, firmly fixing himself to the ground, embedding himself into the surface. At this point, the Wolf King had already rushed onto the young man, but strangely, no matter how hard the Wolf King bit or slashed with its wolf claws, it couldn't leave even a single scratch on Huang Shikai. Chen Qiu noticed the anomaly, walked straight up, and looked down at the young man who had embedded his entire body into the ground. After frowning in confusion for a long time, he waved his hand, signaling the Wolf King to retreat. He raised his cleaver high, aimed at Huang Shikai's back neck, and brought it down with all his might. Clang! The sound of metal colliding suddenly rang out. His mouth twitched slightly, and he threw away the cleaver, whose blade was still trembling violently. He felt as if he had chopped a steel plate. Huang Shikai was unharmed by this blow, but his arm was already numb. A full-strength blow, yet it couldn't break through his defense? Just then, ha 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 ha. Huang Shikai, with his cheek pressed to the ground, laughed loudly in triumph. I forgot to tell you, my initial word art is the yellow grade word art, no attack from front or back. Any attack from my rear or side cannot harm me. The small world will close in half an hour. You can't do anything to me. I've remembered your faces. Once I get out, I'll find someone to kill you immediately. Don't worry, I'll have a good time playing with you then. Such good luck. Fei Long, who walked behind Chen Qiu, sighed with a complex expression. Sometimes I really hate you lucky people. Your first random initial word art is always such a top-grade word art. He actually knew in his heart. Many word arts in this world are interconnected, there are no absolutely useless word arts. Even his 9 oxen strength cannot be considered entirely useless. There are many word arts that can link with 9 oxen strength. For example, the green word art flock together. The effect of this word art is that excess organs on your body will mutate, possessing unpredictable power. The more excess organs one has, the greater the power this green word art will unleash, making it relatively compatible with his 9 oxen strength. But the main reason he still gets annoyed from time to time is that a trash first word art means that even if there are many other word arts later that are related to your word art, it's very difficult to survive to the realm cultivation requirements to obtain those other word arts. And he also doesn't want to have this flock together green word art. Even if it would make him stronger. The biggest drawback of such highly correlated word arts is that without the entire word art set, a single word art is difficult to unleash its power, and you also cannot guarantee that you will obtain the word art within the set. The randomness is too high. He did hear that some heavenly Dao secret realms produce some heavenly and earth spirit treasures that allow cultivators to randomly gain a word art even without breaking through a major realm, or to exchange for a chance to re-randomize a word art when breaking through a major realm. However, such heavenly and earth spirit treasures are extremely valuable and have no chance of falling into his hands. This is also why Fei Long's expression was so complex when he heard that Huang Shikai's first word art was actually a yellow grade word art. This kid's luck was a bit too good, his initial word art was yellow grade, a true child of heavenly Dao. The initial word art can never be changed or erased, it accompanies a cultivator throughout their life. Subsequent word arts obtained through major realm breakthroughs can be erased and changed through some heavenly and earth spirit treasures. The initial word art basically represents a cultivator's aptitude. Chapter 8, Living Long is the Real Skill. It's actually quite good, Chen Qiu said softly, looking down at Huang Shikai, who was embedded in the ground. Everyone's initial word art is random, which, in a way, means that the upward mobility has opened up significantly. Even mortals now have a chance to cultivate, he continued. Otherwise, if all upward mobility were blocked, the class system in this world would be too rigid, and mortals like us would be severely oppressed. He realized that this young master might not be very intelligent. He couldn't understand why this young master would expose his word art. If he had kept silent, they wouldn't have known what his word art was. It might have taken quite a while to figure it out. Perhaps they wouldn't have figured it out before the small world ended in half an hour, and this young master would have truly left alive. But since the young master exposed himself, they didn't need to investigate further. He waved for the Wolf King to start digging a pit, then walked towards the nearby corpses and removed all the storage pouches from their waists, one by one. It was just digging a pit, it didn't take much effort. Why did this guy think he was invincible? Soon, Chen Qiu had sorted out all the gains from this venture. 3 yellow-grade low-rank mind cultivation techniques, 1 yellow-grade medium-grade mind cultivation technique. 3 yellow-grade low-rank cultivation techniques. 7 spirit treasures emitting faint light. And 9 storage pouches, plus more than 10 tails of silver fragments. We're rich, we're rich. This time, we're truly rich. Fei Long looked at the pile of treasures in front of him, his lips trembling from excitement, and he stammered with extreme exhilaration, 5 months. All the wealth I've accumulated in these 5 months isn't even 1% of what's here. How did we suddenly get rich? Let me think. Let's price them first, Chen Qiu said, glancing at the Wolf King, who was still diligently digging a pit nearby. He looked at the pile of treasures, seemingly casually placing his wood-chopping knife in his embrace, but inwardly he remained vigilant. Although he had no intention of killing Fei Long and taking everything, he had to guard against him. He felt grateful towards Fei Long and had a good impression of him, but when the stakes were too high, people could easily lose their minds. Who? Fei Long took a deep breath, forcefully suppressing his inner excitement. A common cultivation technique, once recorded, can be circulated among countless people if the owner is willing. But Brother Chen Qiu, do you know why cultivation techniques from the Heavenly Tao secret realm make so many people risk their lives to snatch them? After all, they are just some yellow-grade low-rank cultivation techniques. In the cultivation world's markets, such a cultivation technique only costs about 10 taels of silver, it's not too expensive. Although they are all common goods, 10 taels of silver can indeed buy a yellow-grade low-rank cultivation technique. Cultivating a cultivation technique takes time and comprehension ability. The deeper one's realm in cultivation technique cultivation, the greater the power unleashed. It is divided into 5 ranks: entry, minor achievement, major achievement, hall entering, and great perfection. Normally, to cultivate a yellow-grade low-rank cultivation technique to the major achievement realm, unleashing almost its full power, would require at least a year of arduous cultivation. However, cultivation techniques produced within the Heavenly Tao secret realm carry the Heavenly Tao's blessing. Each cultivation technique can only be learned by one cultivator. The cultivation technique is embedded in a jade slip, and it burns after being read. Once learned, it starts at the major achievement realm. Furthermore, the speed of cultivating to the great perfection realm will be 4 or 5 times faster than with ordinary cultivation techniques. Fei Long paused, his eyes filled with excitement as he stared intently at the jade slips on the ground. It is for this reason that cultivation techniques produced in the Heavenly Tao secret realm are extremely rare, and their prices remain high. A yellow-grade low-rank cultivation technique from the Heavenly Tao secret realm costs 3 spirit stones. A yellow-grade low-rank mind cultivation technique costs 3 spirit stones. A yellow-grade medium-grade mind cultivation technique costs 10 spirit stones. These spirit treasures are all yellow-grade low-rank, each costing 5 spirit stones. Storage pouches are worthless. Excluding the storage pouches, everything here combined cost 63 spirit stones. Qin Qiu nodded and softly said, "How many wen is one spirit stone equal to?" One spirit stone can be exchanged for 100 taels of silver, and one tael of silver is equal to 1,000 wen. So, one spirit stone can be exchanged for 100,000 wen. Qin Qiu remained silent, not speaking further. He didn't know much about the prices in this world, only that he could rent a decent small room in a courtyard for 300 wen, and buy a good meal of pig's head meat and strong liquor for less than 100 wen. He worked hard chopping wood all day and only earned a dozen wen. Even after learning to chop people yesterday, he only gained over 2,000 wen. And all these items in front of him added up to a staggering 6.3 million wen. Calculated at his rate of earning 20 wen a day chopping wood, he would need to chop wood non-stop for 315,000 days, which is a full 863 years, to save up that much money. And now, he had merely entered a heavenly Dao secret realm, killed a few people, and picked up some treasures. He had avoided 863 years of detours. After a long pause, Qin Qiu suddenly spoke, "Chopping wood is indeed not a very promising profession. Chopping people is more cost-effective." Heh heh. Fei Long, who had been excited, suddenly let out a few dry laughs. Brother Qin Qiu, you absolutely mustn't have such thoughts. You must know that those who chop people will eventually die by the blade. We cannot only look at the immediate gains, we must also consider those who died for these riches. A full 100 people died, leaving only the two of us. Think about how terrifying that death rate is. This path can indeed lead to sudden wealth, but it's even more likely to lead to sudden death. Just then, bullshit. I'm not dead yet. Huang Shikai, who was almost at his limit, cried out in terror. Big brothers, I was wrong. Can you spare my life? I'll reward you handsomely once we get out. We're all people of the Jianghu, give me some face. At the digging speed of the Wolf King beside him, he would be dead before the small world even closed. Don't worry, you'll be there soon, Fei Long said, casually glancing at Huang Shikai before shifting his gaze. He looked at Qin Qiu with a serious expression and continued, Brother Qin Qiu, you and I indeed had such an opportunity today. There are some things I still want to tell you. You absolutely must not let today's sudden wealth go to your head. To be honest, there were more than a dozen people who entered this world with me. The strongest one even successfully reached foundation establishment in the 3rd month. But 5 months have passed, and only I am still alive. On the path of cultivation, even if one cultivates quickly, that's not the true skill. Only by living long enough is that the real skill. Qin Qiu remained silent, but after a moment's pause, he looked up at the serious expression in Fei Long's eyes and couldn't help but shake his head and laugh. You really are very afraid of death. Nonsense, who isn't? There, Qin Qiu said casually, gesturing towards the corpses scattered nearby. They weren't afraid. So they died. And I live. Alright, let's not talk about this anymore. He didn't delve deeper into the topic but looked at the small mountain of treasures in front of him. Let's divide them. You tell me, how should we split them? P.S. Thanks to Boss Naireth for the 10,000 Qidian coin reward, and to bosses like Awakened, Little Bear is Tired, for their coin rewards and monthly ticket support. New book starting, thanks for the support.
Chapter 9. Is it too much to kill the 9 clans? Chapter 9. Isn't exterminating 9 generations a bit much? After Qin Qiu asked that question, he didn't speak again, just quietly looked at Fei Long. His hope was for a 3-7 split. He would take 3 and Fei Long 7. This would also clear the debt he owed Fei Long from the small world, and he didn't like the feeling of owing favors. Let's do 7-3. Fei Long pondered for a long time before speaking. You take 7, I'll take 3. Your combat power is already about to surpass mine. You're luckier than me, having randomly obtained a combat-type word art at the Qi refining stage. With my word art, the Qi refining stage is basically useless. There won't be any outstanding performance. I'll probably have to rely on you in the future. You take more this time, From now on, let's travel together. This way, we'll have each other's backs in this unfamiliar world. What do you think, Brother Chen Qiu? All right. Chen Qiu nodded and didn't say much. The last bit of time quickly elapsed, and Huang Shikai, who was beside them, also died in despair in the mouth of the Wolf King. Chen Qiu also discovered something very interesting. The vengeful spirits of the cultivators who died under the Wolf King's jaws could also be summoned by him. In other words, any creature killed by his vengeful spirits was also considered killed by him. In a sense, it was a perpetual motion machine. This meant he could summon 3 Qi Refining Stage 6 and 1 Qi Refining Stage 5 Cultivator Vengeful Spirits at any time, which counted as a small trump card and gave him a bit of a sense of security. It was dawn. The white swirling exit in the small world slowly reappeared, and the Wolf King's vengeful spirit completely dissipated between heaven and earth. As Chen Qiu stepped into the white vortex, the scenery before him shifted. When everything settled, he had reappeared in the bamboo forest 3 li east of Fufeng City. But this time, many people surrounded them. Over 100 people, inside and out, surrounded the two of them so tightly that not even a drop of water could pass through. Many people had strong killing intent on their faces with thick jowls, looking like the kind of people you wouldn't want to provoke. I forgot to mention, Fei Long's mouth twitched slightly as he cautiously tugged at Chen Qiu's sleeve and whispered, "The Heavenly Dao Secret Realm has one major drawback. You exit the secret realm from where you entered. This often leads to many people liking to guard the secret realm entrance, ambushing those who come out to minimize risk. It seems we forgot to hire a bodyguard from a security firm. If you had hired a bodyguard, when you emerged alive from the secret realm, your bodyguard would successfully escort you to escape this crisis." Chen Qiu looked expressionlessly at the burly men a few zhang away who were eyeing them menacingly, surrounding them tightly. He unconsciously took a step back and calmly said, "What if there's no bodyguard? Then you bring up your background, your influence. That can scare off quite a few people. What if there's none of that either? Then it's up to fate. Just then, kill!" Among the crowd, a group of fierce-looking burly men with wood-cutting knives, the leader of whom was the same one Chen Qiu had initially encountered, raised his wood-cutting knife and roared, his expression somewhat uncertain. "The treasures in this secret realm must be in their hands. Whoever grabs them gets them." He hadn't expected this young man to survive the Heavenly Dao secret realm, and even more, he hadn't expected that out of the 100 people who entered this Heavenly Dao secret realm, only 2 would emerge alive. Everyone knew the kill-type, Heavenly Dao secret realms were dangerous, but it was only hearsay. They had rarely witnessed it. Seeing it today, the level of danger was truly terrifying. However, the leader's voice was full of malevolence as he roared loudly. Yet he showed no intention of stepping forward. But this roar instantly ignited the desire in everyone around him. No one wanted to make the first move to avoid encountering a tough opponent. But they also feared others making a move, worried that all the treasures would be snatched away. As the first person charged forward, the entire scene instantly devolved into chaos. The sky was already faintly lit. In the bamboo forest, countless burly men, armed with sharp weapons, charged towards the 2 young men, one thin and one fat, in the crowd. Roars, the sound of blades cutting through flesh, blood splattering in the air. In such situations, people quickly lose their reason. They couldn't even distinguish friend from foe, feeling as if everyone around them was attacking them. They were just a group of cultivators only at the Qi refining stage, and their attack methods were still the most primitive, like those of savage country bumpkins. The scene looked intimidating, but in reality it was not as grand as 2 villages with their entire populations engaging in a brawl. At some point, the scene began to calm down. Many people were breathing heavily, covered in injuries, looking around but seeing no sign of the 2 young men. Everyone looked at each other with suspicion, wondering who had actually snatched the treasures. And at this moment, Chen Qiu and Fei Long were already walking on an official road. Using the Earth Escape technique and obscuring skill obtained from the secret realm, which reached the major achievement realm upon learning, he led Fei Long underground amidst the chaotic crowd and easily escaped, until they reached this official road. "Here!" Fei Long took out a piece of dry food from his embrace and handed it to Chen Qiu. Eat something to fill your stomach. There's a post station a few li ahead where you can get hot food. If you keep walking 10 li along the official road, there are some cultivator markets. They're called markets, but they're actually like cities, just not one of the Great Xia Kingdom's 365 cities, so they're not taxed. That market is basically all cultivators. Foundation establishment stage isn't that rare. The owner of this market is a loose cultivator, a golden core middle stage cultivation, known as the barefoot Immortal. It's safe to walk on the official road. According to Great Xia law, no one is allowed to attack any living creature walking on an official road, whether they are mortals, cultivators, wanted criminals, or Yao beasts of other races. Even if it's just a rabbit, as long as it's on the official road, you cannot kill it. This law is enforced extremely thoroughly in the Great Xia Kingdom. No matter how powerful a high-ranking official or noble you are not exempt. Once violated, it leads directly to the extermination of 9 generations. Chen Qiu nodded, took the dry food Fei Long handed him without disdain, wiped off the dust with his sleeve, and then put it in his mouth. The importance of transportation to a kingdom is self-evident. If regions cannot frequently interact and trade, and even the official roads cannot guarantee safety, it indeed has a significant impact. It's clear that Great Xia is giving the official roads the greatest possible status. But isn't exterminating 9 generations a bit much? It is a bit much. Fei Long nodded silently. According to rumors, it was enforced this way 500 years ago. However, not long after it was implemented, a prince under the Great Xia royal family's emperor at the time, enraged by his father's favoritism towards his younger brother, openly rushed onto an official road and killed a rabbit. This scene was witnessed by many. According to the law, the entire Great Xia royal family could have gone down to meet their ancestors. But special exemptions would affect the status of the official roads and the law. Chapter 10. Ranking List of Daxia Sections. Chapter 10. Great Xia Sect Ranking. It's said that the situation was quite complex back then. It was a time of chaos, and many surrounding countries and races were engaged in life and death struggles. To attract talent from all over the world, Great Xia extended its official road very far, stating that anyone who stepped onto the official road, regardless of their status, would be protected by Great Xia. No attacks were allowed, and they ruthlessly executed millions of people, which made all the surrounding races and countries remember the 4 characters, Great Xia Official Road. It was precisely by relying on this national policy that Great Xia attracted many talents from other fallen countries and races back then. To this day, there are still quite a few foreigners, and even members of the Yao race in high positions within the Great Xia court. Many people came forward to pledge allegiance, and for a time, Great Xia's prestige was immeasurably high. At that time, Great Xia's laws represented many things, representing Great Xia's attitude towards the outside world. If there was even the slightest weakening, other races would find a weakness. In the end, with no other choice, the then Emperor of Great Xia expelled this 3rd prince from the imperial family, and then had him executed by 1,024 cuts on the execution platform in the very center of the capital. This was also the first prince in history to be executed by 1,000 cuts for killing a rabbit. From then on, this law was slightly modified. It was no longer execution of the 9 generations, but execution by 1,000 cuts. 500 years have passed. The reputation of the Great Xia official road has been imprinted in everyone's hearts. From women and children to the elderly, everyone understands one thing. As long as you are on the Great Xia official road, you are absolutely safe. Chen Qiu nodded knowingly but did not speak. Instead, he surveyed his surroundings. The morning sun shone on him, making his whole body feel warm, and even the injuries he sustained last night felt much lighter. Perhaps because it was early morning, there were not many people on the official road. There were village men carrying hoes, messengers riding fast horses, and cultivators flying on swords in the air. It seemed as though there were no pure mortals in this world. Basically, every adult man had at least the cultivation of qi refining 1st level. Although this cultivation could not extend life or strengthen the body, it could at least provide an initial word art. On both sides of the official road were many spiritual fields. At this moment, many village men were standing in the middle of the spiritual fields, performing the spring rain art to precisely irrigate their spiritual fields with spiritual chirich rainwater in a small area. It looked like a harmonious scene. The official road was very wide enough to accommodate 8 carriages side by side. Every 2 steps on both sides of the official road, there was a golden stone embedded in the official road surface. According to Fei Long's introduction, those golden stones were formation stones. Once there was a spiritual chi fluctuation on the official road, the formation stones would transmit the nearby scene to the city lord's mansion in the nearest city. And these formation stones also formed a formation that covered the entire Great Xia Kingdom. It was also something from 500 years ago. It is said that at that time, it was impossible to set up such a large and complex formation. Generally speaking, formations were either circular or square, used to protect some important property such as a sect. However, the Great Xia Kingdom's official road formation was like a spider web. To set up a formation 100 times more complex than a spider web could be said to be as difficult as ascending to heaven. Later, a great master of formations suddenly thought of an extremely perfect solution, and only then was it achieved. These formation stones not only had a monitoring function but also ensured that the official road would not be damaged. Moreover, when attacked, they could raise a protective shield in the relevant section that would envelop the entire official road, capable of blocking all attacks below the golden core stage. And the formation stones buried beneath the official road surface would also quickly activate, covering the entire official road surface with windwalk art, making the speed of movement on it 20 times faster than usual, thereby quickly escaping danger. I can tell. Chen Xiu surveyed his surroundings. The Great Xia Emperor from 500 years ago truly put a lot of thought into the official road. He genuinely wanted to attract talent from all over the world. It's just that. He frowned slightly and pointed to the official road ahead, which turned almost 60 degrees to the right, asking in confusion, "Why does the official road ahead detour for over 30 zhang?" The official road ahead suddenly inexplicably detoured to the right in a circle, and then, after a distance of over 30 zhang, it detoured back and continued straight. There were no large mountains, no villages, no lakes around. What was the point of making such a detour for no reason? I don't know. Fei Long shook his head. Perhaps there was a spirit stone mine hidden beneath the originally planned route, or perhaps there was a village at this location that later relocated collectively. I don't know such detailed information. My understanding of this world comes from Minjian Chanwan. We're here. The inn is just ahead. The inn, like the official road, is absolutely safe. There's no problem stopping to eat something hot. Fei Long let out a long sigh of relief, his eyes full of anticipation as he looked at the inn that was almost within reach. After passing the inn, they would soon reach the market. As long as he sold all the treasures this time, he would truly become rich. Chun Qiu touched the storage pouch hidden under his clothes and surveyed the inn in front of him. It occupied quite a large area. It was a wooden 2-story building with a courtyard and stables behind it. Eating on the first floor and lodging on the second was the standard structure for most inns. At a glance, it looked like there were about 20 rooms for travelers to stay in, which was quite large. Fei Long walked into the inn with eager anticipation. At this moment, there were only 2 tables of people in the inn. It was early in the morning, so there weren't many people. It was already late autumn, and even though the sun was good today, the autumn wind still felt a bit chilling. Waiter! 1 portion of cured duck, 2 bowls of lamb offal soup, 3 liang of beef, and 2 dry biscuits. Fei Long, familiar with the routine, called the waiter and ordered. Only then did he look at Chun Qiu and say cheerfully, "This inn is semi-official. The common people provide the funds, and the government provides the name. Only imperial edicts or appointments walk on the official road. All secret orders do not go through the official road. Great Xia has its own methods. Its main purpose on normal days is to provide food and lodging for travelers along the way." Chen Qiu didn't speak. He just turned his head to look at the inn's entrance. The innkeeper's cat was lying on a small wooden stool, basking in the sun. He was thinking about how to proceed in the future. He definitely wouldn't go back to chopping wood, since he had the opportunity of an initial 7-colored entry like rising steadily. It meant that even the heavenly Tao wanted him to embark on the path of immortal cultivation. According to Fei Long, no matter which force or sect one joined, even if one became a private guard for a wealthy family, one would have to undergo spiritual detection. This was a detection method that required the full cooperation of the person being detected and could detect all the word arts on their body. And his word art certainly could not be exposed. Joining a sect was a dead end. As for being a loose cultivator, that was an even more hell-level starting difficulty. Besides other things, first of all, loose cultivators could not receive the heavenly Tao's monthly blessing from the Great Xia sect ranking. After much thought, it seemed like the only path was to establish his own sect. However, with their cultivation, after a long silence, Chun Xiu suddenly turned his head to look at Fei Long, at the obese man who had already begun to wolf down his food. After pondering for a long time again, he finally spoke. What are the conditions for establishing a sect recognized by the heavenly Tao? He planned to establish a proper sect, a sect recognized by the heavenly Tao, a sect that could enter the Great Xia sect ranking and participate in the sect luck battle, not the kind of sect that only Fei Long himself knew about. Although his strength was far from enough to establish a sect, it didn't matter. The identity of a nominal sect master was enough. When he broke through to Qi refining first level, he discovered that as long as he focused within his body, he could see many rankings enveloped by clouds and mist. Among them, the most prominent was Great Xia sect ranking.